In this video, we'll break down 3 quantum computing stocks that smart money is quietly buying right now before the rest of the market fully understands what's coming. These are not just tech companies. They are building the foundation of a computing revolution that could reshape industries from cybersecurity to drug discovery to artificial intelligence. The kind of businesses that, if they execute, don't just grow, they compound for decades. Let's start with the purest play in the space. The first stock is IonQ, ticker symbol IONQ. Before we even look at numbers, you need to understand why this company matters. Quantum computing is not just a faster version of classical computing, it is an entirely different paradigm. Traditional computers process information in bits that are either 0 or 1. Quantum computers use qubits, which can exist in multiple states at once. That unlocks the ability to solve problems that are practically impossible for today's machines. But here's the catch. Building a reliable quantum computer is incredibly difficult. Most approaches struggle with stability, error rates, and scalability. This is where IonQ stands out. IonQ is focused on trapped ion technology, which is widely considered one of the most promising approaches in quantum computing. Instead of relying on superconducting circuits, IonQ uses individual ions held in place by electromagnetic fields and manipulated with lasers. That might sound complex, but the advantage is precision and stability. In simple terms, IonQ's systems are designed to have lower error rates and higher fidelity. That matters because in quantum computing, accuracy is everything. A powerful machine that produces unreliable results is useless. IonQ is not just experimenting in a lab. The company already has commercially available quantum computers accessible through major cloud platforms. That means developers and enterprises can start building and testing quantum applications today. This positions IonQ as an early leader in the commercialization phase of quantum computing. Now let's talk about growth. IonQ has been steadily increasing its bookings and revenue as demand for quantum access grows. The company has reported strong year-over-year growth in bookings, which is a key leading indicator for future revenue. Even more important, IonQ has been forming partnerships with governments, research institutions, and large enterprises. These relationships are critical because quantum computing adoption will likely start with high-value use cases in sectors like defense, pharmaceuticals, and finance. The company is also investing heavily in scaling its systems. IonQ has outlined a roadmap to significantly increase the number of qubits and improve performance over time. If they execute on this roadmap, their machines become exponentially more powerful, and that is the key to the entire investment thesis. Quantum computing is not linear, it is exponential. Each improvement in qubit count and error correction unlocks entirely new capabilities. That creates a scenario where early leaders can pull ahead very quickly. Now, let's address the risk, because this is important. IonQ is not yet profitable. This is a high-growth, early-stage company. The revenue base is still relatively small compared to traditional tech giants. That means volatility is part of the game. But this is exactly why smart money is interested. Institutional investors are not looking at what IonQ is today. They are looking at what it could become if quantum computing reaches commercial scale over the next decade. Think about the potential applications. Drug discovery that compresses years of research into months. Optimization problems in logistics that save billions of dollars. Cryptography that redefines cybersecurity. If IonQ captures even a small portion of that future market, the upside is massive relative to its current size. Another important point is accessibility. IonQ's systems are already integrated into cloud platforms, which lowers the barrier to entry for developers. This creates a network effect. The more developers experiment with IonQ systems, the more applications get built, and the more valuable the platform becomes. This is similar to what we saw in the early days of cloud computing. The companies that made it easy for developers to build on their platforms ended up dominating the ecosystem. IonQ is positioning itself in a similar way for quantum. Now let's talk about why smart money is quietly accumulating. First, this is still a misunderstood space. Many investors see quantum computing as too futuristic or too uncertain. That creates an opportunity for those willing to think long-term. Second, IonQ offers pure exposure to quantum computing. Unlike larger tech companies that have multiple business lines, IonQ is focused entirely on this one opportunity. That makes it a high-risk, high-reward play. Third, the company has a clear technological roadmap and early commercial traction. That combination is rare in emerging technologies. Smart money looks for asymmetry, limited downside relative to potential upside. 𝗗𝗓𝗗𝗘 fits that profile. If quantum computing becomes a trillion-dollar industry over time, early leaders like 𝗗𝗓𝗗 could see exponential growth. But you have to be willing to accept volatility along the way. This is not a stock you buy for next quarter earnings. This is a stock you buy because you believe in where computing is going over the next 10 to 20 years. And that is exactly why institutions are positioning early. Because by the time quantum computing is obvious to everyone, the biggest gains will already be gone. If this resonates with you, you're exactly who this channel is for. Please hit the like button, share the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next important financial investing update. Remember to do your own research before you invest in any stock. The second stock is Microsoft, ticker symbol MSFT. Now this is where things get very interesting because unlike 𝗗𝗓𝗗, Microsoft is not a pure play. It is something much more powerful. It is a platform. Before we even touch the numbers, you need to understand why Microsoft's position in quantum computing is so unique. Most companies in this space are trying to build better hardware. Microsoft is taking a completely different approach. They are building an entire quantum ecosystem from the ground up. That includes hardware, software, and most importantly, cloud integration. Microsoft's Azure quantum platform is designed to give developers access to multiple types of quantum hardware, including their own research efforts and partnerships with companies like 𝗗𝗓𝗗. This means Microsoft is not betting on just one technological path. They are positioning themselves as the gateway to quantum computing, and that is a very powerful place to be. Think about what Azure did for cloud computing. Businesses did not want to manage their own infrastructure. They wanted scalable, on-demand access to computing power. Microsoft provided that through Azure, and it became one of the most important growth drivers for the company. Now imagine the same model applied to quantum computing. Instead of companies building their own quantum systems, they will access quantum capabilities through the cloud. And Microsoft is already building that infrastructure. This creates a massive long-term opportunity, because regardless of which quantum hardware ultimately wins, Microsoft can still capture value as the platform layer. Now let's talk about their technological edge. Microsoft has been working on a unique approach to quantum computing known as topological qubits. This approach is designed to be more stable and less error-prone than traditional qubits. While it is still in development, the potential payoff is enormous. If Microsoft succeeds, they could leapfrog competitors in terms of scalability and reliability. But here is what smart money understands. Microsoft does not need to win the hardware race to win in quantum computing. They are already winning in distribution. Azure is one of the largest cloud platforms in the world, and it continues to grow at a strong pace. This gives Microsoft a built-in customer base that can adopt quantum solutions as they become available. In other words, Microsoft has a direct pipeline from innovation to monetization. Now let's bring in the financial picture. Microsoft is one of the most financially dominant companies in the world. It generates massive revenue and consistent cash flow across its business segments, including cloud computing, enterprise software, and AI. Azure continues to be a major growth engine, with strong demand from businesses worldwide. This provides Microsoft with the resources to invest heavily in long-term projects like quantum computing without putting pressure on its overall financial health. That is a huge advantage. Companies like 𝗗𝗓𝗗 need quantum computing to succeed in order to justify their valuations. Microsoft does not. For Microsoft, quantum is an upside option layered on top of an already dominant business. This asymmetry is exactly why institutions love stocks like this. You get exposure to a potentially transformative technology, but with significantly less downside risk compared to smaller pure-play companies. Now let's talk about strategy. Microsoft is integrating quantum computing into a broader vision that includes artificial intelligence and high-performance computing. This is critical. Quantum computing is not going to exist in isolation. It will be part of a larger ecosystem where AI models, classical computing, and quantum systems work together to solve complex problems. Microsoft is already a leader in AI. It is already a leader in cloud computing. Adding quantum capabilities into that ecosystem creates a powerful synergy. Imagine training AI models that are optimized using quantum algorithms. Imagine solving complex simulations in chemistry or materials science that feed directly into AI-driven insights. This is the kind of integration that could define the next era of computing, and Microsoft is positioning itself right at the center of it. Another important factor is trust. Large enterprises and governments are more likely to adopt new technologies through established providers. Microsoft has decades of experience working with enterprise clients. That trust becomes a major advantage when introducing something as complex and critical as quantum computing. Now let's connect this back to smart money behavior. Institutional investors are not just looking for the highest upside, they are looking for the best risk-adjusted returns. Microsoft offers exposure to quantum computing, AI, and cloud growth, all within a financially mazboot and diversified business. That makes it a core holding for many portfolios, and as quantum computing evolves, Microsoft is positioned to capture value at multiple levels: infrastructure, software, and services. This layered approach is what makes Microsoft such a compelling long-term investment. You are not betting on a single outcome. You are investing in an ecosystem that can adapt and benefit regardless of how the technology unfolds. Now here is the key insight. When new technologies emerge, the biggest winners are often not the companies that invent the technology, but the ones that scale it and make it accessible. Microsoft has already proven it can do exactly that. That is why smart money is quietly increasing exposure. Not because quantum computing is fully mature today, but because when it is, Microsoft will already be deeply embedded in the value chain. And that is how you position ahead of the curve. This video is brought to you by Value Stocks Investing Master Course. If you're looking to grow your wealth by investing in solid, undervalued stocks but not sure where to start, I created the Value Stocks Investing Master Course to teach you how to identify great companies, make smart investment decisions, and build a portfolio that lasts. Click the link in the description and pinned comments to get the course today and take control of your financial future. The third stock is Alphabet, ticker symbol GOOG and GOOGL. If IonQ represents pure upside and Microsoft represents platform dominance, Alphabet represents something different: breakthrough potential at scale. To understand why Alphabet matters in quantum computing, you have to understand how this company approaches innovation. Alphabet does not just iterate, it solves problems at the edge of what is possible, and nowhere is that more evident than in its quantum division. Alphabet, through Google Quantum AI, has already achieved one of the most important milestones in the industry: quantum supremacy. This is the point where a quantum computer can solve a problem that would be practically impossible for a classical computer. That moment signaled something critical to the market. Quantum computing is no longer theoretical. It is real. Now, while that early demonstration was more of a proof of concept than a commercially useful application, it validated the trajectory of the technology. And more importantly, it showed that Alphabet has the technical capability to lead in this space. But here is where things get interesting. Alphabet is not just chasing milestones, it is building toward real-world utility. The company is heavily focused on improving error correction, scalability, and the overall performance of its quantum systems. These are the key barriers that need to be solved before quantum computing can become commercially viable at scale. And Alphabet has the resources to tackle these challenges aggressively. Let's zoom out for a second. Alphabet is one of the most powerful data and computing companies in the world. Its infrastructure spans global data centers, advanced AI systems, and massive computing capacity. This matters because quantum computing will not exist in isolation. Just like with Microsoft, the real power comes from integration. Alphabet is already a leader in artificial intelligence. It has some of the most advanced machine learning systems on the planet. Combining that with quantum computing opens the door to entirely new capabilities. Think about optimization problems in logistics, energy systems, or financial modeling. Think about accelerating breakthroughs in materials science or pharmaceuticals. These are not small improvements, these are step changes. And Alphabet is positioning itself to be at the center of that transformation. Now let's talk about the business side. Alphabet generates enormous revenue from its core businesses, primarily advertising and cloud computing. This provides a steady stream of cash flow that can be reinvested into long-term, high-risk, high-reward projects like quantum computing. This is very similar to Microsoft's advantage. Alphabet does not need quantum computing to succeed, but if quantum computing does succeed, Alphabet stands to benefit massively. This creates a very attractive risk profile. Limited downside from its core business, with significant upside from emerging technologies. Now let's talk about Google Cloud. While it may not be as large as Azure, it is growing and becoming an increasingly important part of Alphabet's business. And just like Microsoft, Alphabet is integrating quantum capabilities into its cloud platform. This means that when quantum computing becomes more accessible, Alphabet already has a distribution channel in place. Developers, researchers, and enterprises can tap into quantum systems through the cloud, without needing to build their own infrastructure. This is a critical piece of the puzzle, because the companies that control access to quantum computing will capture a significant portion of the value. Alphabet understands this, and it is building accordingly. Now, from a competitive standpoint, Alphabet brings something unique: deep expertise in both hardware and software. Quantum computing is not just about building machines, it is about creating algorithms, tools, and frameworks that allow those machines to solve real problems. Alphabet has a strong track record in building developer ecosystems. From TensorFlow to its broader AI tools, it has consistently created platforms that attract talent and innovation. Applying that same approach to quantum computing could accelerate adoption significantly. Now let's connect this to smart money behavior. Institutional investors are looking for companies that can lead in multiple technological revolutions at the same time. Alphabet is already a leader in AI. It is a dominant force in digital advertising. It is growing in cloud computing, and it is pushing the boundaries of quantum computing. That combination is rare. It means Alphabet is not just participating in the future, it is helping define it. And here is the key insight. When a company has the talent, resources, and infrastructure to operate at the cutting edge of multiple fields, it increases the probability of breakthrough innovation. That is exactly what you are betting on with Alphabet. Not just incremental growth, but step-change breakthroughs. Now, of course, there are risks. Quantum computing is still in its early stages. There is no guarantee that Alphabet's approach will ultimately win. The timeline for widespread adoption is uncertain. But this is where diversification within the business matters. Alphabet can continue to grow through its core segments while developing quantum capabilities in the background. This gives investors exposure to the upside without relying entirely on it. And that is why smart money is paying attention. Because when quantum computing reaches a tipping point, companies like Alphabet will not be starting from zero. They will already be years ahead. Now, when you step back and look at all three companies together, a clear pattern emerges. You have IonQ, the pure play with massive upside and higher risk. You have Microsoft, the platform giant building the infrastructure layer. And you have Alphabet, the innovation powerhouse pushing the boundaries of what is possible. Each one represents a different way to invest in the same long-term trend. And that is exactly how smart money approaches emerging technologies. Not by betting everything on one outcome, but by positioning across the ecosystem. If you want exclusive stock tips, in-depth analysis, real-time trade alerts, and free investing guides, join the Stocks Galore Patreon today and take your investing game to the next level. Our members get full in-depth analysis on most of the stocks mentioned here. Head over to patreon.com/StocksGalore and become part of our growing community of smart investors. Link is in the description. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these companies do you think has the strongest long-term advantage in quantum computing? IonQ with its focused approach, Microsoft with its platform dominance, or Alphabet with its breakthrough innovation strategy? Do not forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so you do not miss the next important investing update. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.